Hello and welcome to Retro Encounter, RPG fans podcast not married to current events. I'm Mike Sollosi and I'm your host today, and this is episode 125. We have a special topic for you today that I will get into in a few minutes, but first let's introduce my all-star panel for you. First, reviews editor Rob Fenner.
Moving on up like the Jeffersons.
To a deluxe apartment in the sky, indeed. And another reviews editor, Nick Ransbottom.
We finally got a piece of the pie. I think that's the next lyric.
That's the last lyric, to which follows a pie that I just butchered. But yes, I'm very pro Jeffersons and also pro All in the Family, which the Jeffersons spun off from, which was what a great segue. But before that segue completes, we're going to introduce our fourth panelist, streamer extraordinaire Kyle Kortvely.
Hello, I don't have any Jeffersons references, so we're just gonna say I'm already up there.
Right on. And just like the Jeffersons was a legendary TV spin-off of All in the Family, ended up having more episodes than All in the Family, we're going to talk about RPG spin-offs today. Basically, you have an RPG, usually it's a established series or at least a popular game, and either the holding company or the developers decide they want to do something different. They want to show these RPG settings and characters in a new light, or maybe, they just want to see if they can make some money by creating a card game version of Warcraft or something, what kind of crazy idea would that be? So that's our topic for today. We're going to be talking about our favorite RPG spin-offs, and then at the end, see if we can come up with some ideas for hypothetical spin-offs of our own. So, first, I'll pick on you, Nick. Do you have a favorite RPG spin-off that mostly fits the topic of what we're doing today?
Yeah, actually I do. It's Pokemon Snap.
Oh, yes. Okay.
One of my favorite games ever, and I'm still distraught we never got a version for the Wii or the Wii U or the 3DS. The latter of which seemed like a natural fit.
Honestly, I thought the first of those three seemed like a natural fit. Interacting with the Wiimote like a camera for a new Pokemon Snap makes all the sense in the world. I am surprised that they didn't make a Wii Pokemon Snap, especially since the Wii was such a hugely popular console.
Yeah, it's not great because I really love that game. It's one of my favorites ever, and I was so disappointed that we haven't gotten a sequel.
Kyle or Rob, do you play any Pokemon Snap? Because I'm of course aware of it, but I never owned an N64, so I didn't really play much of it.
I never really owned an N64 either. I had a hand-me-down SNES, then a Genesis, and then I went over to the PlayStation 1. But I had many times where with my friend, I don't know if, tidbit too, with Pokemon Snap, you can actually go into your local, going back in time here, Blockbuster store, and you can actually print out your little photos at their kiosk that you can only get at the Blockbuster store. And I used to do that with my friend quite a bit. We got so excited just to take pictures of random Pokemon. It was different. It was oddly competitive in a way because you get Professor Oku grade you, and it worked for me because I like photography, but when you're doing photography with Pokemon and then going into the store and saying, I took this photo of this, you kind of feel proud about it. And that was my highlight of with Pokemon Snap.
Yeah, plus it was fun messing around in the Pokemon universe in a way that wasn't, sanctioned animal fights. But Pokemon Snap is not the only Pokemon spin-off that exists. Are anyone here fans of Pokken Tournament? I think it's a. I know it's 3D rendered, but is it mostly on a 2D plane, or is it like Tekken where there's 3D sidestepping elements outside of being mostly 2D?
It's more like Tekken from what I remember playing of the original version, which I think was on the Wii U, the original console version. Mm. I didn't find it too compelling of a fighting game. Keep in mind, though, I don't normally like fighting games. I'm awful at them, but the concept intrigued me a lot because I've always been a fan of those growing up the battles in the anime for Pokemon.
Sure.
And I thought, a fighting game, you're going to see a lot more action than you would, just a turn-based system. But it was not compelling gameplay. A little bit of a disappointment and a letdown. But the roster too, I think, was just not anything to write home about. They had some very weird picks, and they left out a good amount of fan favorites.
Yeah. Now, I know that one of the Fennekin evolutions is in it, but isn't it like the middle one or something?
That's my name. No,
Oh,
it's
No, I think it might be. You know what? Actually, it might be the middle one.
yeah. It's like who cares about the middle evolution of a starter? You either want the cute baby one or the supreme ultimate monstrous third one. Like that was a head scratching decision to me.
Yeah, it like I said, really weird picks for that. And there's just nothing that made it stand out to me against, the other 3D fighting games out there. Nothing that made it feel unique, even, despite the premise, which is a shame.
Yeah, it is a good premise. I haven't played it. Again, I mean, to go along with the pattern of me not owning all of the Nintendo consoles, I never owned a Wii U. But I had a lot of fun with my Wii and my Switch, but I skipped that generation for whatever reason. But I know that it does have some popularity within the fighting game community. Like, I don't think it's on the main stage of Evo this year, but there's gonna be it'll be on some side thing, and there will be some hotel room first to tens for that game, which was true of many fighting games. But staying within the Pokemon universe for now, any of you guys play a lot of Pokemon Puzzle League on the N64?
That's one that I personally never played, but always wanted to. I never could find a copy back when I had my N64.
All right. Well, Pokemon Puzzle League is basically a Pokemon adaptation of Panel de Pon, which is a puzzle game that's been around for many years. And I played a lot of the Yoshi's Island version of Panel de Pon that was called Tetris Attack in the United States.
I
So,
played a lot of that. I never
right.
actually got around to Pokemon Puzzle League because of my limited time with an N64.
That's fair. Kyle, did you play either of those? Any? I think they came out with some Panel de Pon game under that name later. That
You
was
know,
that was available in other territories. But any of those you play, man?
I haven't played Puzzle League. I mean, I think I might have seen Puzzle League itself for a little bit, but I played a lot of Tetris Attack. I religiously played that. I'm not as good as my wife, but in some form or manner, I've seen it, but I haven't got my hands on it that long.
That I mean, it's a very good fundamental puzzle game. That's basically basically an early version of a match 3 that has a lot of sort of head-to-head twists on it. That I thought Tetris Attack was great.
Not Tetrisy at all. You can
No,
see
it's
that they
not.
were just trying to shift it with that localized name.
It doesn't even have. Well, there are falling blocks, but mostly it's rising blocks. And I think they really just called it Tetris Attack just so it would have a semi-recognizable name. I mean, that's why
Yeah.
that's why Seiken Densetsu 1 was called Final Fantasy Adventure. But I think we're about done talking about Pokemon spin-offs for the time being. Let's roll back a little bit. Rob, Fenner, do you have a favorite kind of spin-off game that you want to bring to our attention?
I sure do, and it's a spin-off that went on to eclipse its the RPG that it spun off from,
Oh.
especially in the West, but also in Japan, and that is the Puyo Puyo series of
Oh,
puzzles.
okay. Yeah, now I do not have much familiarity with this, so please give me the abridged version of the Puyo story.
So, well, the Puyo Puyo story. So Puyo Puyo, I guess like the closest thing you could compare it to is Dr. Mario. Slimes fall from the ceiling, and you match 4 slimes of the same color to make them disappear. But I found out in the 90s or early 2000s that Puyo Puyo is in fact a spin-off of Mado Monogatari, the sorcery story series of originally microcomputer RPGs and then moved on to consoles, which each game tells a different chapter in the life of Arlie Nadja, who people will recognize as like the main playable character in Puyo Puyo, as she goes from kindergarten at Magic School to graduating from Magic High School. And each of these games follows her going through a big, massive dungeon, wizardry style. But you input your spells with the directional buttons or with the joypad to like kind of do like I guess a bit like Sabin's special moves, but
Oh.
not quite as fast and fighty.
Oh, okay, so they aren't quite, Street Fighter super move and button inputs.
That's right.
Ah,
But
darn.
you are like you're casting spells by pushing buttons in the correct order. And the Puyos who feature in Puyo Puyo are the slimes that Arlie ends up running up against as the level 1 RPG as they are in just about every franchise. Whereas like her other opponents in the Puyo Puyo games, whether it be Skidora the Fishman or Satan himself, are her adversaries or her companions in the RPGs. But I always found it peculiar that a series of very, very basic wizardry clones went on to spawn such a ever popular series. Folks may remember the name Mado Monogatari, localized in 2013 as Sorcery Saga Curse of the Great Curry God, which is a yes, Compile Heart have the Compile Heart are not Compile. They are definitely not Compile, but they have the trademark to some of Compile's old IPs. So they revived Mado Monogatari as a mystery dungeon clone with some cheesecake.
I remember Curse of the Curry God just because that subtitle was unusual and and popped up
You're
there.
eating curry in the original games as well. But,
Yeah, and speaking of pop, I know that there was at least 1 or 2 adaptations of Puyo Puyo in the West because I remember the name Puyo Pop being
there's Puyo
for,
Pop. There was
and then there was a Puyo Tetris from last year that a lot of people played.
It's really, really good.
That
It's
game's
super
so
fun.
good. So good.
Kyle mentioned earlier, or was it you, Nick, off mic, who mentioned Mean Bean Machine, or was it you, Kyle?
It was me.
It was you, Kyle. There was Mean Bean Machine, and then there was Kirby's Avalanche, which I played a lot of.
Oh, okay. Kirby's Avalanche is a Puyo clone or Puyo adaptation.
No, it is Puyo. It's Puyo Puyo 2, but with a fresh coat of paint.
Oh, fantastic. So it's like Kirby doing a Mario Brothers 2 onto Puyo.
That's right.
Right on. Sometimes it's easy just to compare things in terms of other things, which is something that frustrates me sometimes, but sometimes you got to do it anyway.
There's Puyo Puyo Da, the dancing game on Dreamcast, which was super bad.
All right. Well, that's Puyo Puyo, which is something I'm not very familiar with, even though I've seen, I guess, names of Puyo Puyo adaptations spring up over the years. I guess, in hindsight, the one I've played the most is Kirby's Avalanche, which I wasn't totally aware was a Puyo clone. But all right, Kyle, it's your turn now. Do you have a favorite RPG spin-off that fits the tone we're talking about today?
Well, in terms of RPG spinoff, I can think of kind of a couple of them, but my favorite series is probably one of the more Final Fantasy ones. Now, again, I technically would have 2, but in a sense that the first one would be Dirge of Cerberus for Final Fantasy VII. It was different because what Dirge of Cerberus did is that it's riding off the coattails of what Final Fantasy VII did. But instead of going after all the main antagonists or protagonists, that is, they focus on Vincent, which for whatever reason, the tall, dark, and brooding person is probably the most common thing in the Final Fantasy VII universe. And instead of making it more of an RPG, they go on the same long lines of making it like an action game in a sense, where you play as Vincent, and it's a shooter game. It's an over-the-shoulder shooter game. You only have 3 weapons. You have his infamous handgun called Cerberus. And you also have a sniper rifle, and you also have a machine gun. They all have names. I believe the rifle, they were all called like weapons of some sort like that. Like
No, they all have to give them sort of edgelordy names, like in a like in a Devil May Cry or a Bayonetta game.
I think the sniper rifle is called Hydra. I don't have no idea what the machine gun was called, but
are they all children of Echidna or something?
I think they're trying to play off of like Vincent's like I have a dark past type of thing, and it never really implies he has other guns aside from the actual game. He does use other guns, but this is probably one of the first ones where they shove like all these good ideas in this game. Where you have like, health bar, you also have mana in there, which, he can swap out materia for like fire. He shoves it inside his gun. He has fire bullets and he has ice bullets and everything. The coolest thing to this game is that it was Japanese only, though. They did have an online multiplayer, which is an extremely rare thing for a PlayStation 2 game.
Yeah, online multiplayer in the PS2 was a rough world to go through. I think and Final Fantasy XI was one of the pioneers of that. But but like the Call of Duty games at that time, the 3rd and 4th Ratchet and Clank games, there's some weird, janky early online console multiplayer on the PS2.
Monster Hunter.
Oh, now you say that, but I've spent 2 podcasts the past few weeks talking a lot about Monster Hunter, so we're not even going to go there now. But now I have not played Dirge of Cerberus. It was part of that compilation of FF7 project that also involved Advent Children
It was.
and Crisis Core, which are two things I'm much more familiar with. But is this like an
Don't forget
over-the-shoulder
before
shoot?
Crisis.
Oh, right, yeah,
Sorry.
so many different. It has there's FF Final Fantasy has more Crisis terminology things than DC Comics does, which is insane. But um, is it more of an over-the-shoulder shooter like say a Resident Evil 4 or 5, or is it more of a over-the-top action with a lot of shooting like a Devil May Cry?
It's more like a Resident Evil 4,
Okay.
5-ish thing. For a moment, it's like criminally underrated because it's actually a really good game. It's got movie AAA quality as titles, and they could have used the same animators that did Advent Children, but I think they were making like all these games like Before Crisis and Dirge of Cerberus and Advent Children all together at once, so they can just shove it in our faces at one same time. But I think it's criminally underrated in the sense that, when people see this game, it's like, oh, it's a crappy mission based game. You go around and start shooting things, and yeah, you can think of it that way. But with multiplayer side, when you beat the game, you can have time attacks. It's a lot of replayability in the sense that you can just get graded on it as well. I can definitely see repetitiveness, but really, if you love the series, it's something that it flew over everyone's heads, or they rolled their eyes because no Final Fantasy VII game. When are we going to come up with a remake already? Type of deals. And then they even have a companion game on the mobile phone. I think it was before Crisis or whatever the heck it was, but it started like Vincent before he became Vincent himself when he was inside the organization before that.
Yeah, when he was a Turk.
Yeah, when he was a Turk, exactly.
Mm-hmm. I fear that I might be one of those people that was rolling their eyes at that time because, first of all, I don't play a lot of shooters, or barely any, in fact. And so and even though I like FF7 a lot, an FF7 shooter that did not get great reviews and especially since I don't love the character Vincent, was not something I was interested in. But you think it's worth going back and taking a look at this thing?
I do. I mean, also hate to plug, the person that actually did it too, but the Japanese pop star Gak voice.
He's in that, wasn't he?
Yeah, he's also, I think, Genesis or what the heck his name is.
Yeah,
he did motion capture for it. He also did the entry song. He also did the ending song. It just felt like we're getting a lot more inside this game than what it really deserved. And despite that, the other games that came out on the PSP and the mobile and everything else, I think this specific one, if you had to play it, I mean, is really worth everyone's time. And yeah, you can roll your eyes, sure, but it can grow on you. It can easily grow on you.
Now, going back to Gact for a second, I know that part of the reason why Crisis Core is not available digitally on the PSN is because they used Gact's license and not just his voice and motion capture in that, and like using his likeness had a some kind of statute of limitations in the agreement to do that. So and because that license expired is why we can't get Crisis Core digitally. But was his likeness used in Dirge of Cerberus? Was the Genesis character in that?
It very much so was.
Okay. So that is also
not any spoilers during anything else like that, but it definitely was. It was. You might as well just took a photo of him.
Okay, so it was a likeness and not just a voice or just a song, and that's I'm sure. Now I don't know this for sure, but I'm assuming that Dirge of Cerberus is not available on digital services today, and that would be part of the reason why. Okay. But let's stay in the Final Fantasy universe a little bit. And also, slightly going on to current events, Dissidia Final Fantasy is the big fighting game spin-off of the Final Fantasy series. They had two PSP games, one the original Dissidia Final Fantasy, and then an expanded version called 012 Duodecim Dissidia Final Fantasy. I think I might be getting those words in the wrong order. And it was a prequel that added 7 or 8 characters to the roster. I really enjoyed those two PSP games because the action was odd and very like vertical and stylish and had a lot of sort of RPG customization to it. The multiplayer got real weird on that thing, but I had a lot of fun playing with the Final Fantasy main characters and villains on the PSP. And then it had a recent sequel that you can find our review on from a few weeks ago, or maybe I'm not sure. Maybe it's over a month by now. By the time this posts, from Alana, and she did not like the new Dissidia much at all. In fact, the new Dissidia has a much colder reception than the PSP one did. So, starting with you, Nick. What are your thoughts on Dissidia in general? Did you play much of it?
I did actually. I played both of the PSP games. I loved them for whatever reason. I thought they were very engaging and borderline addictive.
Oh yeah,
I
I put a stupid number of hours into it.
Yeah, same.
Not at a Monster Hunter level, but at a very high for a PSP game level.
Same. And unfortunately, I have played the new Dissidia, and I'm not sure if they changed the gameplay drastically, or if like my memory of the gameplay, it doesn't hold up today. But for whatever reason, NT is just a mess. Like I really genuinely actively dislike that game. I feel like it's a little too chaotic. And it's a lot of button mashing. It doesn't feel as engaging as I felt the PSP games were. I think they expanded the focus for it to be 3-on-3, which I don't think the originals were just 1-on-1, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So the 3v3 is I don't want to say too ambitious, but it's definitely not something I think they executed very well. And it ends up just being, I don't know. There's not a story mode per se. You have to battle and get points to unlock nodes, to get cutscenes, and I guess eventually battles. I honestly did not even bother with that. I played around a bit with free play and whatnot, and it's just not fun, and it's a shame.
I played a little bit of NT at E3 last year, and it was hard to get a game of it since the lines were unusually long in the Square Enix booth. But also, it was just total chaos and confusion trying to play it itself. I won the round that I played, but I'm not sure exactly how. And
Yeah.
it was 3-player co-op. I think one of the other players had been playing it over and over or something. But again, I don't think it's helped by the expansion to 3v3, and it is definitely not as fun or engaging as the PSP ones. Kyle, did you play any Dissidia, whether it's the PSP ones or the recent PS4 one?
I have not played the recent one. I played the hell out of the other two for the PSP, especially the first one. There was something about the first one that I think attached myself to, and it might have been because they had all these characters, like, all the original Final Fantasy characters kind of getting in and just doing their battle and everything. And I didn't really feel like it was repetitious, but it felt really nice to play. And I kind of liked it in the second game, but I have not played the latest one, so I really don't have any opinion on it. But based on what I've seen and everything, it looks nice. But from what we said previously, I heard the gameplay is like,
Yeah, spoiler alert for the review that's on the website. The number that Alana gave it is not a passing grade in many American high schools. Just to throw that out there. Rob, did you play much Dissidia?
Oh, I tried that first game on PSP, and I couldn't really make head or tail of it. It kind of reminded me of like the Budokai games or the Tenkaichi games, those 3D Dragon Ball Z fighters where you're zooming all over the place in the sky.
There is a lot of zooming around in the Dissidia games. That's for damn sure.
So I had no idea what I was doing, and like I wasn't all that engaged because like I'm not the biggest fan of those like let's make everything crossover types of crossovers. They just don't do a lot for me. So I didn't really feel very motivated to try and learn what I was doing. And then I did play a bit of NT at E3, and I didn't know what I was doing there either, and I did not have a good time. So I think this is just I think it's just a series that isn't for me. But I mean, if the wider opinion seems to be that NT is even more like baffling than I thought the original PSP game was, then like wow, I mean, it must be. I don't know. It sounds like they've really done something wrong there.
I think they just didn't capture whatever made the PSP ones, fun. I think it was the battles were a little more
esports or something.
Yeah, I think they were.
I think this new one was designed with esports potential in mind. Yes.
Mm.
And the originals, the battles just felt like more intimate, I guess. With the one-on-one focus, and I felt they were a little more, for lack of a better word, like epic. You know what I mean? were a bit flashier to me. Not to say NT is not flashy, but that's about all it is spectacle, no substance.
All right. Now, we're basically in agreement that there was an addictive quality and fun in those PSP ones, and maybe less so in the new one. But before we close the door on Dissidia, quickly, Nick and Kyle. Nick first. Who's your main?
It was Titus.
Right on. And Kyle?
Uh, I had technically two, but I mainly used Squall.
Okay. Sure. Yeah, I had probably two as well, but my main in
You bringing a sword to a gunfight?
no, I brought daggers to a gunfight. Zidane was my main. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, he could do like invincible jumps and stuff. He was an agile mofo. But anyway, let's Rob, give us the tell us a little bit about Theater Rhythm, because I played a lot of Curtain Call, but that one sort of came and went for me.
It's I guess the closest comparison would be Owendan or Elite Beat Agent, where it's a
Sorry.
That's the one.
Mm-hmm. I own all three of those.
You're following the bouncing ball with a stylus, and while you were doing so, it's two different tunes from Final Fantasy. I think they eventually added some tracks from Chrono Trigger and Romancing Saga through DLC, and this game got a lot of DLC.
And there was also a Japan only Theater Rhythm Dragon Quest that they created.
Yeah,
as well.
I'm really jealous. I want that. I've got a Japanese 3DS now. I should probably see if I can get that.
Yeah, go for it. But yeah, they added a lot of DLC to it, and the song list, including DLC or even not including DLC, is pretty staggering.
Isn't it like over 200 songs?
I don't have a number for you, but I remember just my eyes widening at looking at the track list. Almost everything you would possibly want is in there.
Yeah, for real. There's arrangements. There's the original chip tunes. It's really a treat for the ears. And one of the things that I heard people praising Dissidia about is that it's like a ticker tape parade of unlockables and fan service and fun stuff that you get just from playing the game. And Theater Rhythm is no slouch in that regard. You're always unlocking more characters in like this and they're illustrated in this cute kind of like segmented like marionette style. So you can build out your party of your favorite heroes, of which there are many, and unlock more songs and go through little quests to complete a range of songs to unlock even more songs and to fight bosses, which are, well, they're just more rhythm battles, but who cares? That's what you're there for. So the way it's just giving you like hand over fist, look here, have all these wonderful songs that you like, and play through it with whatever character you like. It really captures that celebratory kind of festival.
Yeah, you're right, and also the nature of concert rewards. You mentioned a ticker tape parade. Like, you're always unlocking a costume or a character or more songs with almost everything you're doing, especially in the early goings when you don't have anything unlocked. Is very
So
fun. It's just a total celebration of Final Fantasy, the music in particular. And if you like Final Fantasy music, I mean, why the hell aren't you already playing this thing? Kyle, you said you played a lot of Curtain Call as well?
I've actually missed the first one, only because is that I guess I wanted to play it, but I guess I didn't have a 3DS or a DS at the time. It was 3DS, yeah. But I got Curtain Call, and God, it absorbed my life over anything. I hate to say I rarely go ahead and spend money on DLC, but my God, it had Chrono Trigger inside of there. It had like other stuff from other Square games, and then like I couldn't stop playing it because I love rhythm games, and especially the ones you just do with your hands, not with your feet. Because I'm okay with that. But I don't know. I agree with you that it's kind of like a ticker tape parade of, quite literally, of you going down, playing the songs. Like, I usually do it just like to have a chill out day. Like, I'll play the 2 or 3 of my songs I know I feel really good at, and then sometimes I'll do story mode, and just basically it'll be a mix up of like, journey songs, and then sometimes it's really hard songs and everything. And then there's definitely challenge there. I always try it on the medium difficulty. I rarely try it on hard unless I'm being sadistic that day. But it's a very relaxing game. I should say I rarely play games that are pretty good for your like mental purposes. Like, but it's very stimulating in a way. You listen to music and yet you're playing the music too. So it's very nice.
Now you mentioned the tonal differences and the difficulty changes you could make, and I was able to play songs on hard for as long as I was playing the game. Again, I played it for like 3 weeks, and then I just sort of stopped playing it. But maybe it's because I'm very comfortable with this kind of game. I mean, I beat the 2.0 end on games and Elite Beat Agents on expert, but like you can do a Journey song and have it mostly be just like carefully holding your stylus and settling into a more medium tempo like low intensity song, or do a battle on the big bridge or something that is just a fury of button presses fitting along with it. It's like for a rhythm game, where rhythm games mostly always sort of skew to the more intense. The Theater Rhythm and Curtain Call, and probably also the Dragon Quest one, allow you to like settle into more mellow button pressing experiences for at least certain tracks, which I thought was cool. Now, Nick, I don't want to talk to you about Theater Rhythm Final Fantasy specifically, but you and I talked about this off mic a while ago, like not even today. Isn't there a Square Enix series conspicuously missing from the Theater Rhythm DLC?
Yes, we have not gotten Theater Rhythm Kingdom Hearts yet, which boggles my mind.
You say yet, so you think that maybe even in the window of the release of Kingdom Hearts 3, do you think that is something that could be in our future?
Not within the window of Kingdom Hearts 3, but I am holding out hope. It keeps dwindling as the years go by, but I think it would just be insane not to do a Kingdom Hearts version, because those soundtracks are just incredible. Shimomura is she's my favorite composer personally for video games, and I think the actual style and aesthetic of Kingdom Hearts lends itself well to the aesthetic of Theater Rhythm.
Yeah, I mean, Shimomura's beloved and excellent, and when it was pointed out to me that there was no Kingdom Hearts DLC in any of the Theater Rhythm games, that made me immediately think, oh, they're going to do a dedicated Kingdom Hearts one of these, maybe closer to when Kingdom Hearts 3 comes out. And I'm a little surprised it hasn't already happened, but here we are. I guess we're not sure if we'll ever get that, but I think if Square Enix ever decides they want to revisit Theater Rhythm Kingdom Hearts would be the ideal place to start, and a popular system with a big shiny touchscreen like the Switch might be the place to do it.
I mean, there is a rhythm game on the Switch that I cannot remember the name of, so it would be a good fit. And with Theater Rhythm too, you could alternate between touch input and buttons and shoulder buttons.
Right, yeah.
So yeah, it could definitely work on the Switch.
All right. So I think we're going to move on from Final Fantasy for now. Go down another spot on the list. But let's stay in the realm of rhythm games for a minute. Persona 4 Dancing All Night, which is getting 2 sequels, Persona 3 Dancing Moon Night and Persona 5 Dancing Star Night later this year. That is, before too long, 5 Persona rhythm games featuring remixes of all of that wonderful Shoji Meguro music. And now, I guess, Rob, I know that you're into a lot of SMT games. Did you play Persona 4 Dancing All Night?
I sure didn't.
Oh man,
it is a
bad segue. My bad.
Yeah, no, it's all right. It's a reskin of a Hatsune Miku game. I tried the demo of the Hatsune Miku game, and I had no idea what I was doing. Very, very busy on screen. I couldn't follow it. I was going to get Dancing All Night, and then I heard that it was like a canon story about everybody being forced to dance, and I was
I mean,
I don't need this.
The Persona 4 canon story looks like it was already shut out of a canon. It's a complete mess.
Yeah, it is.
But this is shoot. It takes place in like some spring break or something after the events of Persona 4, and they're all forced to dance to rescue 4 or 5 pop idol girls. Oh, no, I think 4 pop idol girls and their manager plus a 5th one.
I mean,
it's a mess. But
opinion, the Persona 4 soundtrack is probably one of my least favorite Persona soundtracks. I like Heartbeat Heartbreak a lot, and I think I'd be hard pressed to tell you many other songs that I like.
I really like Your Affection. And I really like the dungeon music for the Heaven for the heaven level in Persona 4. I really like those are my two favorite Persona 4 tracks, and both of them have very good remixes in Dancing All Night. Even though the story is it's kind of a mess. I don't. It goes into the theme of your outer self versus your true self, the way that Persona 4 does, and many Persona games do. But I'm not going to defend the story. The
I might give Dancing All 3 a look because I really like that game soundtrack. But
Dancing Moon Knight
I don't know.
is that one. But
Yeah, that's the one. Okay.
don't you want to dance with Akihiko Senpai in a hoodie or something?
Well, yeah,
Obviously.
of course.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm interested in that one a little bit.
Okay. Kyle, did you play Dancing All Night, or are you interested in any of them?
I don't own a Vita, for one. I have a PlayStation TV, because reasons. I really did like Persona 4's music quite a bit. Although Persona 5 came around and I'm like, they should make a game out of this one too.
And they will.
And they will. Yeah, that's exactly right. But I personally have not got a chance to really dive into this game. I feel like I would enjoy it, kind of like it did with the Rhythm Final Fantasy. But since, in a way, I'm not and no one out there take offense to this, I'm not the most biggest Persona fan or enthusiast out there. I do respect the game. I have played the games before, but I usually just play it once and I get frustrated because I can't get the right relationship to go right. And like I put the game down for like a week or two and I forget where the heck I was. So
Yeah, I mean those are long games that are it's yeah. If you put one down after a period of several weeks, you could feel lost going back to it. So Nick, did you play Dancing All Night, or are you interested in any of these?
I loved it, Dancing All Night.
Okay.
But I do love the Hatsune Miku rhythm games.
And sorry to interrupt you, but Hatsune Miku is a downloadable character in Persona 4 Dancing All Night. And
I was going to say that, and I
Yeah.
couldn't remember if that was accurate or
No,
not.
no, it is.
It felt like a fever dream.
100% accurate.
Yeah, I think
Like
she,
the
I
movie?
think I think she only gets a couple songs that you can use her on, but it is totally DLC that you can use.
I'm going to say with the story, I didn't mind it that much. I kind of liked that it was so wacky and goofy. And I don't think Persona 4 had a very good story in comparison to the other Persona games.
Agreed.
Not as bland as Persona 5. But, the characters are what made Persona 4, for me, not the story. So I didn't mind, the embracing the wacky nature of the concept. I actually liked that it embraced the wacky nature of the concept. It leaned into it, and I thought that worked in its favor. I prefer theater rhythm in terms of like actual rhythm gameplay instead of just pressing buttons at the right specific time. Theater rhythm, had the flicks and everything that you had to do. But
And there's definitely more songs and more content in theater rhythm.
There is, and I think the rhythm gameplay itself in theater rhythm is just a tad more engaging. But I do really enjoy Dancing All Night. I agree, it's not really my favorite Persona soundtrack. I liked 3's more, and I liked 5's the best. But it's a very good game. It's fun, it's simple, it's flashy. I don't know, it's enjoyable.
Yeah, I mean, I think that what that game has as an advantage over many rhythm games, including theater rhythm, is that flashiness. I mean, you're getting big, goofy dancing versions of the Persona 4 cast, which is a pretty beloved cast, I would say. And they summon their personas for musical finishing moves whenever you complete a stage. It's real goofy. Full disclosure, I'm a big fat Persona fanboy, and I platinumed Dancing All Night. Which is not that hard. You just have to unlock everything and then beat one song on the highest difficulty and beat one song without missing any notes. And I only played it for again a couple weeks maybe, and I was able to platinum it without tearing my hair out. But I think it's a flashy but somewhat empty calories kind of rhythm game. The remixes are cool. I got the special edition that came with a full soundtrack, which was nice.
Is that like 4 discs?
It's 2 discs, and one disc is all of the remixes, and original music, and one disc is the mostly the original versions of the songs in the game.
Mm.
So it's about like a quarter of the Persona 4 soundtrack and then a bunch of remix tracks. But it might not be a complete one. It's just the one that came with the special edition. So I'm not 100% certain on that. But it has stuff like menu music in it. So I think it probably has most of them. But let's talk about a different Persona 4 adaptation that also has a pretty good soundtrack, shockingly, and that's Persona 4 Arena. If I had to pick a favorite RPG spin-off on this list, I might go Persona 4 Arena because I mean
Pretty
again,
good.
I like Persona a lot, Persona a lot in general, and maybe 4 in particular. But I think this is also one of the best Arc System Works games. It is not as technically complex as a late coming Guilty Gear or BlazBlue game, but the characters have tremendous variety. It's more accessible than any other Arc System Works game, but there's still a lot of depth and a lot of weird technical stuff going on, and it's just a really really good 2D fighting game with some really interesting gimmicks. Like, I mean, Naoto, she has a countdown timer that goes down whenever you hit someone with one of her trap spells or with a super move. And if you get the counter from 13 to 0, then any of her super moves will be an instant kill. And like every character has some kind of prevailing gimmick like that. That's sort of the game within a game of playing that character. And I thought Persona 4 Arena was awesome and got all the DLC and played the sequel Persona 4 Arena Ultimax, and I liked it a lot. Persona 5 Arena can't get here soon enough. But again, I'm a longtime fan of 2D fighters. Nick, my favorite Yoko Shimomura soundtrack is probably Street Fighter 2.
I have not listened to the Street Fighter 2 soundtrack, unfortunately.
Capcom was a little weird back in the day. For a lot of their games, they sort of had soundtracks by committee. But Shimomura was on the Capcom team that did several of their games in the early 90s, and she reportedly did more than half of the Street Fighter 2 soundtrack. So she will be near and dear to me for that reason alone forever.
Nick,
But
have you gotten this far in life without hearing Guile's theme?
No, I have heard that one.
Okay.
That was a meme for about a solid 6 months.
I was gonna say.
Yeah. No,
It's and it's meme worthy. It's a beautiful piece of music.
it is. It is.
yeah, the Street Fighter 2 soundtrack is a good early 90s fighting game soundtrack. But anyway, I like 2D fighters a lot. I like Persona 4 a lot. The music in Persona 4 Arena is really good, and I even bought the 6-track like pre-order remix CD that came with it. It was only like $5 resale at this thrift store near my house because I didn't get an early copy of Persona 4 Arena. But in fact, you know what? I think I'm going to make one of either the intro or the outro to this podcast something from that disc. I haven't decided yet, but it will happen. But I like Persona 4 Arena a lot. Have any of you guys played it?
I really like it.
Okay. Oh, so you did play some of it, Rob.
Yeah, I've got the first game. I bought the special edition of that, which in this country, it came with all of Chie's buttons. So I like that. But it also came with like a jigsaw puzzle, which is kind of unusual. But hey, why not? And it came with a carrier bag, and I was using that as my lunch bag for a while, but then it wore out really quickly. So what I like the most about this game is Arc System Works' beautiful sprite work. And
it's so good.
seeing these characters from Persona 4 and Persona 3, who we previously only saw as like kind of stubby, like not SD, but like kind of stubby polygonal models, seeing them in like full-sized, beautifully animated Guilty Gear style sprites with this range of incredible animation, and then the personas that they unleash, a bit like the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Capcom game. On top of that,
let's be real. JoJo stands directly inform Persona, the personae of Persona, like straight up. And also similar anime things like like Scryed and anything where you summon a personal buddy.
Mm-hmm.
That's all straight from JoJo.
Yeah, the game is absolutely beautiful. It's a joy to play. I got Ultimax when it was free on PS Plus maybe a year and a half ago, but I haven't tried it yet. That's got the naughty boy who I would like to try playing as, but I'll get around to it eventually.
The story in Ultimax is the story in Persona
really trash.
Yeah, it's awful, and it takes so long because it's basically just a visual novel with far too many, like character flags you have to navigate through, and
Yeah,
dialogue you have to navigate through, and it's
each character has their own story path, and then like you get to the end of one, and it's like, oh, you can't beat this yet. To be continued. Go beat another one, and then you have to like do all the
it's so
characters. And
long, and
like,
it's better.
please,
It's better in
I don't want to read
Ultimax.
about GA chasing after a and
In Ultimax
couldn't
is a little
stand it.
better. Like they do the
Yeah.
Injustice Mortal Kombat thing where you like you'll go through the story and one character will do a few battles, and then you'll switch to another character, and by the end you'll have used the entire cast, and or maybe for some fights you'll get the choice of a few different people to use, and
Like
it's
the Capcom JoJo game.
a little, yeah, a little bit. But it's much better handled or better executed in Ultimax, but the story itself is still complete nonsense. Like in the first one, they introduce a sort of a prototype version of Aegis named Labris.
Who talks with a Brooklyn accent?
Yeah, she spoke with, I think, probably with a Kansai dialect or something in the Japanese version, but they translate that into a very hardcore New York accent that is a little grating. And then there's a character named Sho, who's sort of the central new character of Ultimax, and I don't think either of them are particularly good or interesting.
I read about what his deal is. And
Yeah,
it's like,
it's not great. But the new characters they introduce in Ultimax are good. Having Ken and Koromaru fight as a team, where you have to sort of like ice climbers your way through them by manipulating both of them at once is pretty wild.
It's pretty funny.
And Yukari becoming an actress in the Phoenix Ranger Featherman show, and Junpei being a Little League coach, I think are very cute adaptations of who they are. So I like a lot of the design and a lot of the combat and the music in both Persona 4 Arena games, but their story, don't play these games for their story. Oh no. Kyle, did you play either of these?
My friend made me rage quit on one of them. So that way, I'm not too much of a ginormous 2D, 3D fighting game person. The last game I've really got into that was really much fighting game was like Gundam Versus. But beyond that,
EX Gundam Versus came out only a few months ago, and it's super good.
It is. It's not as good. It's probably better than the other one that just came out very recently. But in terms of Persona 4, I was a punching bag. Let's just put it that way. I was a random button masher. I liked it. It didn't help that I played it at the time before I played Persona 4, so I had absolutely no idea who the characters were at the time. So it was quite legitimately my friend gave me the controller and said, "Hey, play me." And of course, he played the game far more than I have. And needless to say, I was just like, I'm done with this. I'm never playing this game ever again. And I unfortunately held true to that one. But it's enjoyable when I watch other people play when they actually both people have skill to it. So,
Nick, did you play much of it? I don't think I've talked to you yet.
I have played none of it, so I cannot contribute to this conversation in the least.
In general, I think Persona 4 Arena is a really good 2D fighting game with a truly awful story that makes the whole of Persona 4's story seem worse. It's a game I've played a lot, and I really like the soundtrack as well. But we've been talking a lot about these different games, and we still have a big list to go down. Let's completely jump back to Nintendo, but not Pokemon this time. There was a Zelda spin-off called Link's Crossbow Training from many years ago. Was that... Now, please correct me if I'm wrong. I think that was attached to the Wii around the same time Twilight Princess came out?
Yep.
Yeah,
Right.
I think it was a launch game, wasn't it?
It was.
Okay, I have not played that at all. But even though I have played Twilight Princess and have played many things on the Wii, is it good?
Yeah. It's hands down, like, it's different because it's in the exact same graphical style as Twilight Princess in many ways, but I can't say they force you, but it's hilariously they give you I forget what it was called, but it's like this little gun rack looking thing that you can get as an accessory of many accessories that the Wii had, and they really want you to have that rack in order to play the game. But if you don't, then you just hold it, in a certain way. But anyway, it's like target practice with Link, and they actually have, and this is surprising, it's enjoyable. There's no story to it, but there's just missions, but they're good missions, and they make you really try your hardest to do as much as you possibly can. They have the Fender missions where you just basically you remain stationary, you just look all the way around and hit all the targets on the enemies, and then you have target shooting, and then you I think there's like a third mode or something like that. But it was definitely one of those hidden gems that you were just given with the game, and it's just like, here's the game, go ahead and play it for the Wii. And I guess this was one of the most highly receptive games because they gave it to you for free, and it was like one of the most highest grossing games out there because they once again gave it to you when the Wii came out. But it was different, but I thoroughly enjoyed it as a shooter, and it worked really well for Link.
All right, so Rob, have you played this one? I don't have any commentary at all.
Don't kiss me, I'm in training. No, I didn't play this one. I got a Wii very, very late. I got my Wii in 2010 to play, I want to say exclusively to play Fragile Dreams, and then I ended up building up quite a little library over the course of the next couple of years. I could see myself probably trying it out and having some fun, like if the Wii had launched and I got it free with a Wii. But as it stands, like it's 2010, I've bought a Wii for like £50. I don't think I need to buy the training game. So I just kind of missed the boat on it, but not to throw shade at it.
Yeah, I mean, me too. I got a Wii slightly late, and I played Twilight Princess years earlier on the GameCube. So
yeah, same here.
Yeah, so this one I just totally skipped over this one. How about you, Nick?
Nope, I skipped over it too.
All right.
I wasn't really big into Zelda when I was growing up, so it had no appeal for me.
Well, okay, I can't say that about myself. I've played and enjoyed Zelda for many years, and there is one last Zelda spin-off that we want to talk about here. And now, whether you think Zelda
Balloon Trip.
was that? Oh, the what was it called? Freshly Picked Tingle's Rupee Wonderland or something? What was that?
There is that, but there's also
Okay.
Tingle's Balloon.
Okay. Well, I wasn't going to talk about either of the Tingle entries, although I think he might be playable in this one. I'm not positive, but there is
That
Hyrule.
Rupee Wonderland game is weird. It's a little bit like Julep. It's made by ex Love Delete people, so it's got some weird stuff going for it. But anyway, we're not
What
talking about...
a game with Tingle have some weird stuff going for it. Wow, never would have
Yeah.
guessed. Never.
Who would've
But
thought?
maybe he is playable in this one. I haven't played much of it yet, but there is Hyrule Warriors, the Muso spin-off, or perhaps Dynasty Warriors spin-off, if you aren't aware of the series title Muso. It's a series made by, I think, Koei Tecmo for the most part.
Yeah, Omega Force.
Omega Force, yeah, right.
It's
Which
one
is
of their internal studios.
right. Okay, I don't. I've played so few of these games over the years. I don't think I've ever owned one before, other than the first Dragon Quest Heroes. But one of my friends buys almost every Dynasty Warriors and Samurai Warriors and Orochi Warriors games, so I've played many of them with him over the years. But I had never played Hyrule Warriors. Let's start with you, Kyle. Have you played Hyrule Warriors, and is it meaningfully different from the other Musou games that had been around for longer?
Not any different. I obsessively played it with my wife quite a bit. I did not get any DLC though when it first came out for the, I believe, the Wii U. I think it's Wii U, and it does share a stupid amount of stuff from Dynasty Warriors quite a bit, except it's Zelda. Everything Zelda franchise, everything you know and loved about Zelda, every freaking person you can see inside the Zelda franchise is shoved in that game, and it works in a way. I enjoyed it. I had at least 3 good characters that I can definitely play as. But in a way, it might seem repetitive to somebody else, but it didn't feel repetitive. Didn't feel repetitive leveling up each character that you wanted to level up. I mean, not all characters, but it might be different.
Well, if you like the gameplay loop well enough, then any grinding doesn't feel like grinding. But but if they if you like the setting and characters and the gameplay is at least functional, then it probably is likable enough. Then Nick or Rob, did you play Hyrule Warriors?
I did. I actually I love that game.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. I have it on the Wii U, but I've retired my Wii U, so I play the new Nintendo 3DS version, which is not great frame rate wise. It drops to like the single digits sometimes if you're playing on an original 3DS. But no, it's a fun game. I think there's a real variety to the weapons for each character. So whoever you're playing as, it feels very unique and different. Um, the aesthetic was very charming, and I enjoyed the gameplay loop.
Cool. And Rob, did you play much of Hyrule Warriors?
Yeah, I'm afraid this is one that I've missed out on.
Right.
I only play the occasional Muso game. I do like Zelda games, but like I don't have like a super attachment to the cast of any of them, so it wasn't really enough to get me in.
I
Get
did
me in the door
notice.
there.
I did notice a year or two ago that one of the last pieces of DLC was my boy Ravio from A Link Between Worlds, and
Oh, really?
he uses magic rods and the hammer and the I think a boomerang, which fits his character. So if I were to ever play, it would probably be the inevitable Switch remake, which may already be announced. I'm not positive about that. But like I might play it eventually, but I haven't yet. But it's not the only Muso game on our little list here. There's also Fire Emblem Warriors, which came out I think second half of last year, like maybe in the summer or fall.
Yeah, I think it was the fall. I think.
Right. I know it did come out last year because one of our reviewers, Nathan Lee, gave it a very high score. He loved that game a lot, and it looks like it's very rewarding fan service for Fire Emblem fans and a very competent Muso game in general. Did any of us play that? I haven't yet.
Too
I
new for me,
have.
I haven't. But yeah, Nick, go
Uh,
right ahead.
yeah, so it's I don't know. I'm not too big on Fire Emblem. I like the gameplay. I just have not played a lot of the games. I got into it with Awakening. So as someone who's not really big into Fire Emblem, I thought it was fine. You know, it's very fun still. They did implement the weapon triangle mechanic, but the story is just so bad, and it's hard. It was hard for me to keep playing. They did include a mode that like, oh goodness, it's like a historical mode where you like fought on this grid-based map, and you would go to different nodes and then play out a battle, which was fun and had a lot of replay value. But yeah, I wasn't too big on it.
All right, Kyle, did you play Hyrule Warriors? And
I
wait, no, you already. Wait, no, I'm sorry. Did you play Fire Emblem Warriors?
yeah, I've actually have. I kind of agree with Nick on that one. I'm a big Fire Emblem fan in more ways than one, but
There's more than one way.
yeah. There's I got it.
You know what? Let's end that
Right
line of
way or wrong
questioning.
way.
Yeah, I'm just keep talking about Fire Emblem
don't
Warriors,
question
my
it.
man.
Just
Mhm,
don't.
Sure. Okay. All right. I have some regrets, but continue.
On like comparison to Hyrule Warriors versus Fire Emblem Warriors, how I loved the story that they have for Hyrule Warriors was actually really decent. The story that they have for Fire Emblem Warriors, not as good. I love the characters for Fire Emblem Warriors. I just as much I love the characters for Hyrule Warriors. The problem is that that's where my love for the game actually just stops. I love the characters, I love the series, but the gameplay just felt recycled in some way or another. It's with the grid system they had there for the special story modes, I thought that was kind of cool. Again, not to compare it to Hyrule Warriors, it just almost felt like they looked at Hyrule Warriors like, I'm just going to take this and morph it into Fire Emblem, and that's what we're going to do. And I'm not saying I didn't hate the game because I rarely use the word hate, but I really just didn't like it as much. I'd rather play Hyrule Warriors than Fire Emblem Warriors.
All right. Now, our third, Muso Warriors game on our list here is Dragon Quest Heroes, which I don't know why they called it that, because they could have gone with Dragon Warriors, and it would have been a reference to like the old localized name for them, and it would have worked great. But it never.
Maybe somebody else has that copyright now. I wonder.
Possibly. I mean, the reason that they had to change it in the first place was because Dragon Quest was some kind of, I think, Hero Quest or D&D copyright that they had.
Yeah, TSR had it for
Right.
one of their offshoots.
Right, but anyway, it's called Dragon Quest Heroes. There's two of them, and a compilation of the two is coming out for the Switch later this year. But I played the first one. It's competent Muso gameplay and really well animated characters and monsters in the Dragon Quest universe. The new characters aren't even that bad, But really, it felt empty to me. It's like I didn't finish it. I don't even think I got terribly far, and the grind was very real in that game. Even though I love Dragon Quest characters and monsters, and it looks like the Dragon Quest Heroes 2 handles it a little better, but it's still not that sweet spot. It is older than Hyrule Warriors and Fire Emblem Warriors, so I think those are two a little bit more refined than Dragon Quest Heroes is. But
I hear that 2 addresses like a
okay.
lot of the issues, but I mean, I haven't played it myself, and I've got a very similar take on the first Heroes as you do, Mike. I love seeing those characters in 3D, but there's just something about it that just didn't keep me coming back in the way that, like, I don't know, like the One Piece game did.
Yeah, One Piece Pirate Warriors, which is not bad, and uh, like
It's so cute.
it's also about a the closest you can get to living out the fantasy of that anime, since like the audio and visuals are straight out of the anime for that game. But yeah, I'm not a big Muso fan, so and even though I love Dragon Quest Heroes didn't quite do it for me. But I mean, your mileage may vary, depends on how much you love these settings and how much you like that gameplay. But if you have attachments to either of those, it could be exactly the game for you. Just like Nathan playing Fire Emblem Warriors or Kyle playing Hyrule Warriors. So we're working our way down this list, and we did just talk about Dragon Quest a little bit. So let's continue down that path. They adapted the sort of Pachisi mini games from a couple old Dragon Quest games from the 90s into a full-on video board game called Itadaki Street. Many years ago, I think the earliest Itadaki Street games were sort of original characters and not much Dragon Quest stuff, but after the first Dragon Quest themed one, all of the ones since then were just Dragon Quest and other crossover characters in the Itadaki Street series. So they've done at least 7 or 8 over the years, but Itadaki Street has been around as a sort of Monopoly Pachisi style board game that have a lot of Dragon Quest characters in them. They did have one localized in North America called Fortune Street for the Wii, but I didn't play that one. I've only really played the Pachisi mini games in a few Dragon Quest games. Has anyone here played Fortune Street or any Itadaki Street?
It's a friendship ruiner game.
All right.
I'll elaborate on then. It's one of those few games that it kind of grows on you, but you have to know. It's like oh gosh, like Dokapon Kingdom in a way.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah, it's kind of
another
like
friendship
that.
game.
Yeah, it's just either you get it and your friends don't, and you just roll all over them, or you kind of have to dub yourself down, just like I got to really just make sure my friends are having an enjoyable time. I don't want to beat them out too bad. But it's exactly like one of those games. It's Monopoly with mini games, but you're controlling Fire Emblem characters, and speaking of Fortune Streets, it's the Mario characters as well. But
Yeah.
if you're not careful, you will ruin friendships with that game.
One of the PS3 ones had Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest characters crossing over. And there is a Switch one, I think, upcoming that also is very colorful and fun looking, but I mostly know these games exist and haven't really played them. But moving on down our list, did any of you guys play the DS game Dragon Quest Rocket Slime?
I like it a lot.
Okay, I guess Nick and Kyle haven't, but
No, I have not played it.
I have not played it either.
It's super
Keep in mind,
good.
7 was my first Dragon Quest game that I.
Oh yeah,
really
that's
not
right.
been
Yeah,
reviewing.
I remember talking about it with you on Random Encounter a year and a half ago, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, Rocket Slime is the second game in a trilogy, but it's the only one that was localized in English officially. And the series in general is called Slime Mori Mori Dragon Quest. You control a slime goes on adventures involving only monster characters from the Dragon Quest universe, and the action is top down, sort of like an older Zelda game, but with a lot of sort of use these items and monsters and powers to navigate through the environment. And at least the Rocket Slime, the only one that I've played, the DS one, was really, really cute and clever and fun. I had a really good time with it, and I'm really
I like it's got Toot and Schleiman.
Yeah,
Pharaoh.
it has even more puns than than a regular Dragon Quest game in English does. And I'm really sad we didn't get the 3DS one, because that one replaces the tank battles with pirate ship battles, which sounds just delightful.
I was hoping we would get that.
Right?
I feel sad about that.
I think part of it was they could just localize everything for the DS because it was such a hugely popular console that that DS stuff sold extremely well during its heyday. But alas, we didn't get the GBA or 3DS games, only the DS one. But it was good.
Mm-hmm. I love those tank battles, and I love that game's sense of humor. It's just so offbeat and strange. I mean, it's a Toze game, and it feels very Toze. It's tough to describe Toze's feeling because they're usually like doing ports or but like when they're allowed to kind of like run free with a concept, I kind of feel like they were doing that in Rocket Slime. It reminds me a little bit of the legendary Starfy games, which are kind of
Oh.
Kirby-esque, but with a very strange sense of humor.
Hmm.
And I think there's parallels to be drawn between the way each of those games handle their weird little world, and in this case, it's framed through Dragon Quest slimes, and who doesn't love them?
That big goofy grin on their face is just so
Oh yeah,
iconic.
getting shot out of a cannon on that box, it's really good.
Right. And I mean, continuing down our Dragon Quest track, there is the Mystery Dungeon series, which has a few original games, like the Shira and the Wanderer is technically a spin-off of Mystery Dungeon, I think, right? But
Yeah,
they also it's a series of Japanese-made roguelikes with randomly generated dungeons. But they've had Chocobo Mystery Dungeon, Torneko Mystery Dungeon, and Torneko's a character in Dragon Quest IV, and young Shonen Yangus Mystery Dungeon, and Yangus is a character in Dragon Quest VIII. All star in their own Mystery Dungeon spin-offs. I have not played any of these, but I
the
know.
series began as a Dragon Quest spin-off. The very first Mystery
Oh,
Dungeon game was Torneko's Big Adventure,
oh,
and
okay.
then Shiren was Mystery Dungeon 2, and then they kind of went off to their own respective series. There were a few more Torneko games, and then Shiren has kind of been the enduring thing that Chunsoft do without a license.
Right, and the Shiren game from I want to say 2 years ago, the Vita one, was
Yeah,
really well received. I know that
it's
Rob.
amazing.
Yeah, I know that. You've told me how much you like it. I know that Rob Steinman and Stephen Meyerink both adored that thing, and both of them bugged me to play it since they know I was a bit of a Vita stan. But have you played any of the spin-off Mystery Dungeon games? Because I'm aware of them, but I have not played any.
I played the first Torneko, which was on Super Famicom. That is a very, very addictive game. Not quite as cruel as Shiren.
Oh, and for
Um,
Dragon Quest fans, Torneko is the Japanese name for Talon, the merchant character in Dragon Quest IV.
mhm.
And in one of the later Dragon Quest games, they even call him Torneko Talon, just to respect both versions.
They brought the name Torneko back in the end because the Torneko, I want to say Torneko, no, it was Torneko 2, was released on PlayStation in the West as Torneko The Last Hope, I think it was called.
Hmm.
Um,
Right, sounds right.
which it is like it's very much almost exactly like that Super Famicom game, but with recorded orchestral arrangements as the music. And there was a third Torneko game on PS2. I didn't play that, and I didn't play Young Yangus either. But I'm quite fond of those Torneko games. They're very cute. They don't do it for me quite as much as Shiren does, but they do hold up pretty well
That's cool.
in the wider series.
Now, Nick and Kyle, have either of you played any of the Mystery Dungeon games? Because I know they're a little off the beaten path, and neither of you are Dragon Quest fans to the level of Rob or I.
No.
Well, I have played Pokemon Mystery Dungeon.
Oh, okay. Right. There was a Pokemon one. Oh,
Yeah, they've done like I want to say like 3 or 4 Pokemon Mystery Dungeon games.
No, that's right. They did the DS, and there was a couple of 3DS
They did
ones
they
with
did GBA, DS. I think there were 2 on the DS, and then they did at least 1 on the 3DS.
right.
Yeah.
At least the most recent one let you play as any of the starters or Pikachu, I think.
Yeah, I know in the original one that I played for the DS, you took like a personality test, and that determined which Pokemon you would be,
Hmm.
which I thought was really interesting.
Just
I
like
got
Dragon Quest 3.
I got very addicted to that first Pokemon Mystery Dungeon game when I was growing up. It was just I don't know. The loop really got to me, and I loved exploring and seeing how far I could go without dying. And then, of course, being, upset when I did die, because it was a big loss of progress. And I think, for a Pokemon game, the story was actually not that bad.
I remember, I've only played that DS one. I remember this story gets like weirdly
It
dark.
gets dark, yeah. It gets really dark.
And like you're like at the assembly point every morning, and that I'm terrible with any Pokemon past the first 151, but the Pokemon with like the speakers on his head, he's like having the assembly and shouting like "Smiles go for miles," and then like all of a sudden there's like a Drowsy who's a child predator who's kidnapping child Pokemon and making them do horrible things, and you're like,
Oh,
what is
yikes.
happening? Onan?
Yeah, it's tip of the
I liked it,
iceberg
but it
for-
was very surprising.
Yeah, it was, and I think some of it like went over my head as a kid, and then I look back on it and I'm like, oh wow, that game was something else.
That does sound like something else, but let's go to something with, I think, at least has a more light-hearted tone. Nick, you brought up, before we started recording, you brought up the Rune Factory series, which is a spin-off of Harvest Moon. Can you tell us a little bit about that, and is it hopefully a little less dark than, Child Predator Drowsy?
It is. So Rune Factory is more of an RPG focused Harvest Moon. You level up and you fight monsters. And on top of that, you do the regular Harvest Moon stuff. You take care of your farm, you take care of your livestock, you fish, you mine. Um, and I liked the first one. There is one, I think it was the third one, where like you were like kind of like a werewolf, but I think it was like a sheep, maybe.
Mm.
A
I
were-sheep.
Yeah, like I could really be misremembering that.
This
But
almost
I'm
sounds
pretty
like a
sure.
certain Wallace and Gromit movie.
Yes. The Wii version, which was Frontier, I put like maybe over 180 hours into that game. Uh,
Now, is that the same as the PS3 version?
I think maybe they did port it to the PS3, but I know there is one called Tides of Destiny.
Maybe
I
that's
think is
the
the
one.
name of the subtitle. That one was not very good.
Okay, I think that's the one that I have and the only one that I've played, and I hated it.
Yeah, that's actually when I stopped playing the series. There was a Rune Factory 4 that
I
came
hear that's
out.
great. I wanted to play that, but every
Yeah,
time
I kind of want to play that one too.
Our
I kind of want to
friend
go
of
back
the
to it.
Rune
park,
Factory came out, I was always just too poor to pick it up, and now they're like all rare.
yeah, friend of the podcast, Marcos Gaspar, has brought up Rune Factory 4 multiple times to me. He really likes that one, and
It's
I
made by the
haven't.
Lufia people.
Oh, really? So I guess they're up to something now because
Well,
it's certainly.
they're gone now. They were
Well,
shuttered
okay.
maybe 3 years ago,
Yeah.
but that was their last game.
Huh. Well, now I
The
am
Rune Factory.
intrigued.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I haven't played any Rune Factory or Harvest Moon game, or really any of these farming special games.
Wow, that breaks my heart, but I won't go into that. No, I'm just teasing. The Rune Factory games were just very lighthearted and very fun. Um, I don't know. I liked the loop more than I liked Harvest Moon. I think it was because it was fantastical, and so the world was a little easier to get lost in. But if you like Harvest Moon or Stardew Valley, I think Stardew Valley takes after Rune Factory more than it does the original Harvest Moon series or Story of Seasons. It's a great game. It's a great series.
Cool. So, Kyle, have you played any Rune Factory or I guess fantasy farming games of its ilk?
No, I can't say I have any
All right.
thing in this out of there. The only thing I played was Dark Cloud. I guess you can call that a spin-off in a way, but I don't know how if it's the same or not. But I've not played it. I played the original Harvest Moon 64, but nothing to do with Moon Factory.
All right. So there's only one item left on our big list before we get to the second phase of this podcast, and that is Hearthstone and Gwent, the two card game, preposterously successful card game spin-offs of Warcraft and The Witcher, respectively. Now, I know there are a lot of enthusiastic Hearthstone players on RPG Fan staff, including Liz and Dom and the former Retro Encounter host Josh Curry. But are any of you guys Hearthstone fans?
I like what I've played, but I haven't played too much of it.
And also, it's an enormous money sink beyond a certain point
Yeah.
of casual
That's what
play.
I'm afraid of. That's why I
Yeah.
haven't played it.
That's it didn't happen to me, but I stopped playing because it got addicting, and that's the reason why I was scared of the game. I had to stop because I knew I was going to sink some money into it.
Yeah, it's very addictive gameplay.
Right. Agreed. It's a cool little digital card game and has a lot of fun, Warcraft themed, visual flair to it. and also themes I mean, you basically pick a class that's one of the WoW classes and play a deck based on that, which is a cool gimmick. But I mean, I didn't play it very long because I was afraid it would just become a money sink. And even though I got out very very early, I think I was basically I made the right call there. So are any of us Gwent players? I sadly only played a little bit of The Witcher 1 and hated it, and have refused to try Witcher 2 or 3, which is very unfair of me. So I don't know.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I don't
you
know. I don't know a damn
refuse to
thing
play
about
Witcher
Gwent.
3.
Yeah, I know. I'm being stubborn about it, but and playing Witcher 2 and 3 is on my short list of things that I'm sad I haven't played, and I'm not sure I'll ever get to.
I'd skip right to 3.
Okay. Well, you do hunt monsters in that game, and I am a fan of hunting monsters.
Hmm.
So, but have any of us played Gwent? Because I know it's been pretty successful, even though it's a relatively young entry into this card game spin-off of RPGs genre.
I've played it in Witcher 3, and I am terrible at it. I don't really get it, and I'm not that interested in learning. So I don't think I'll be playing the outside of Witcher 3 Gwent anytime soon.
All right.
I could not get into The Witcher 3 to save my life. I have tried like 4 different times.
Hey, it's taken me 3 years.
I don't know. I don't like the combat in that game. I'm not even sure if I ever even tried Gwent. I think you might be forced to try it at some point very early on in the story.
I think so, yeah. But then you
Yeah,
have to
and then
again
after that, I was just like, this. There's no way I'm playing this. This is not interesting to me. So yeah, I'm not too well versed in Gwent.
And Kyle, any thoughts on Gwent beyond? Oh yeah, that exists.
I'm in the same boat as you are. I pretty much almost eerily in the same boat as you are. I pretty much played the first Witcher and then like kind of wanted to play the second or third one. Have not done it. I should, but I haven't. I've heard of Gwent, but I've probably never legitimately seen it played. Let's put it that way.
I remember at E3 in 2017, there was the CD Projekt people had Gwent stuff available. They were very eager to sell Gwent to the attendees, but sadly I haven't played it. I didn't even check them out there.
I like that you can get a card of Roach stuck on a roof and Geralt looking confused. But,
that is cute.
yeah, to reference a certain bug in Witcher 3. But yeah, I think that's adorable. I really like that. But it's just not for me.
Right. Well, gentlemen, we've done it. We have gone through our big list of spin-offs that we compiled over the past couple days while planning this podcast. But now we're getting to the feature that I was a little bit more excited to talk about. In fact, I wish I had cut some time to that to the first segment to get to here because we've been talking for over an hour. But here I want to hear your ideas for RPG spin-offs. I asked you each to prepare a pitch for a fictional or hypothetical spin-off to an existing series of RPGs and present it to the other panelists, and we'll discuss what kind of potential it has. So I'm really eager to have each of you say aloud what you came up with. So do we have a volunteer for who's going to go first?
I'll go first.
All right, Nick, hit us with your RPG spin-off pitch.
Okay, so since Hearthstone is so addictive with its gameplay, I thought a Persona Hearthstone style game would be very fun to play, especially since there's such a big cast of actual Personas themselves.
And you could probably involve the major arcana of tarot cards or something in it too.
Like maybe that's tied to like the decks that you get for and which tied to which personas are in that deck based on the arcana that you choose.
I was thinking that they could be like power-ups, like getting a tarot card bonus at the end of a fight.
Oh, that could be good too.
That was my assumption, but no, your idea is good too. But then again, you would have 22 different decks.
That is, yeah, and 12 of them would be DLC probably. But I think that would lend itself well to Persona. I was actually going over this last night with my boyfriend. He was like, "Hey, I really need to come up with an idea for the podcast." And we're talking because he's playing Persona 5 right now, and pretty sure it's his first Persona game. And
yikes.
we came up with that idea together, and I actually kind of really want to play it now. I'm not sure how it would work story-wise. Maybe people are gaining control of shadows the way that you gain control of personas. and you have to battle them or something. Who really cares? After Persona 4 Dancing All Night story, it doesn't matter. But yeah, I think that would be fun.
Cool. So, Persona themed card game on a digital platform similar to Hearthstone. Rob, what's your first reaction to that idea?
I dig it. I dig it. I'm bad at collectible card games, but the Persona series has always been tied to card motifs, so I think it would be a very good fit. And it's the kind of thing that would probably get me logging in and trying it out. I mean, it's been a while since Atlas have had an SMT game on PCs since that MMO that's not running anymore. So it could be a nice little free to play thing that they
Now that Atlas is
in the
under
interim.
now that Atlas is under Sega, maybe they'd be
Mm.
more amenable to the idea of releasing things on PC. I'm just saying because you got your
Well,
Valkyria Chronicles on PC, right?
oh yeah, we
Right.
do, don't we?
I'm just saying. I'm just saying we could get
It
more
would be
Atlas things
nice
on
to see
PC in the
their stuff
future.
on PC. That would be great if they
Yeah.
made the jump to Steam like all the other developers seem to be doing at the moment.
Right? So, Kyle, what do you think of Nick's Persona card game idea?
I think it's one of those things that I feel like I would just dive right into because even though I haven't played a lot of the Persona games, it would be like a good like intrigue game to get myself into. Like the curious, like, oh, that's a cool card. Like, what is that one with? And like, oh, it belongs to Persona 3 or Persona or this one or maybe the Digital Devil Saga. I feel like I'd be like collecting the cards just to say I got the card, and I don't know if I had a rare card or not, unless it actually told me. But
Oh, they usually tell you.
okay, but it's the same way it goes. Is that it's just on a person that sits outside of the Persona realm so much that it would intrigue me to see like where this would go and like if this is a good thing, if this is a bad thing, if I want to be like one of those like elitists that like I'm only going to get these type of cards and play with these cards at all times. But I definitely think it's a good pitch right there. It's something that it would definitely intrigue my interest inside both the Persona game series and the actual games itself.
Now, Rob, I know you're a fan of Persona 2, so imagine this theoretical card game play. You have Maya. She summons Maya, and she's fighting the Maya, and it's in a Mayan temple that sunk from the underground.
Oh Jesus Christ!
Right? Doesn't that literally happen in the game?
Yeah, that's setting off all sorts of lights in my eyes.
Right on. So, Rob, it's your turn next. We same question as Nick. An RPG spin-off that is hypothetical, theoretical, unmade. What is the idea you have for us?
Mara dating sim. No, that's
Ooh.
not it.
Oh boy,
Uh,
that's a very aggressive one-sided dating sim.
give me a survival horror spin-off. But wait, you say, isn't that what Kadalka basically was? Well, I'm not saying like Resident Evil style. Like give me something like really, really nasty, like kind of like Amnesia or Outlast or White
And
Day.
and you said Kudelka, so we're talking about Shadow Hearts.
Yeah, we're talking about Shadow
Oh
Hearts.
boy. Oh
You
boy.
have like a my idea is like kind of like Fatal Frame 2 or Project Zero 2 where like you're trapped in a Japanese village but like a village in Asia that's beset by horrible sea hag creature or the spiders with fingers or the hopping dog mailmen who are just
Yeah,
chasing
God,
you around.
I played Shadow Hearts Covenant for the first time right around a year ago. It was
Yeah.
February March of 2017, and it was for the podcast, and it was the first time I'd ever played a Shadow Hearts game. And the monsters designs in that game are effed up. Like
They're pretty
whoa,
scary.
they're
I
they're dark and weird and bizarre, and sometimes they're like regular scary, like big spiky monster scary, and sometimes they're disturb you in the center of your brain scary. It's something.
I get it's like I guess what I'm looking for is like a run and hide game based around yokai, but like Shadow Heart's version of yokai are just extremely nightmarish and twisted. So I would really like that kind of let's be trapped in a horrible haunted village and have to survive the night and find a way out or find a way to break a curse at the same time. I would dig that a lot. I think the Yomawari games, which the latest one came out in October, I think they're kind of a similar vibe to that with their own monsters, but in sort of a cutesy style. I haven't had a chance to play those, I'm afraid. I've been meaning to. They look really cool. But yeah, just give me an excuse to see those nasty Shadow Hearts creatures in high def and hopping after me as I go and like hide under a pile of wood or like under a staircase or something, a la White Day, and that'll get me going for Halloween.
Cool. So, Kyle, what do you think of Rob's Shadow Hearts survival horror idea? Have you played any of the Shadow Hearts games before?
I have. I actually owned the very, very first one. I did own the second one until the disc broke. Very bad day in my life.
Well, no, you still own it, except now it's in two halves, which is unfortunate.
Well, the first one is I still own. The second one, it's probably somewhere in the waste bin somewhere back in time. But anyway, as a big fan of the Fatal Frame series, that is absolutely something that I'd be highly interested in. I'm really into the like the really dark, not. I can't really describe it. The anime just came out as well for it, but it's like the really messed up Japanese horror stories and everything that looks so
the
visceral.
Junji Ito collection?
Yeah, that one.
I love his stuff.
I love that, and I can just picture in my
everyone-
head just watching that, just like inside the game, like, oh my god, just get away from me, just please, just I gotta get.
Rob, what's the name of that Junji character who's sort of this a high school girl who's like the object of everyone's desire?
Tomie.
Yeah, God, I read one Tomie story many years ago, and it still haunts me. That dude is.
I really want a Tomie game.
Oh,
I don't
God.
know what it would entail.
Oh,
but
I don't even know.
her.
I don't
She's
even know where to
amazing.
start with that. But oh man, that like that dude's manga will haunt you.
It does.
Yeah, it does.
So, Nick, what did you think of Rob's pitch?
So unfortunately, I cannot play the run and hide type horror games because I have like this really bad phobia of being watched and being like stalked. And I've tried Outlast, that terrified me. Tried Resident Evil 7, terrified me.
What about Dead Space?
Dead Space, I actually really liked.
That's surprising.
It is. I think it's the dismemberment system that was in Dead Space. It was very empowering, so I did not mind that. That being said, I love Fatal Frame 2. It's one of my favorite games ever.
It's
And
super cool.
I could see that vibe, like that whole concept, just working beautifully. I think it's genius. I might not play it, but I would absolutely watch someone else play it.
Have you played any of the Shadow Hearts games, Nick?
I played that the last one that they did, which was kind of like a spin-off itself, kind of. It was
From
like
the New
very
World?
wacky. Yes, that one.
Okay. Well, it's not really a spin-off. It's just the third one.
I thought, well, like tonally, wasn't it kind of a spin-off?
Yes,
I mean, you know what I mean.
yeah, sure.
Yeah.
There was supposed to be a Shadow Hearts 3, but that got kiboshed when the team disbanded and then went off to work for AQ Interactive. So yeah, that was intended to be like a spin-off middle chapter, but it was just the final game in the end. So
Yeah, I would absolutely. I think that would be so much fun.
Cool. All right, so Kyle, it's your turn. Give us your pitch for an RPG spin-off. Or I should say spin-off to an RPG. This is confusing.
So I was thinking about it, and I once again I love Fire Emblem, but I also like the interactions you do between the characters. So I was kind of thinking of a game that I was kind of going with my wife on this one because she loves the Danganronpa series like obsessively, and I was like, well, why don't we just take like the character interactions between Fire Emblem and then make it like a Danganronpa-esque thing. Except you don't do any battles whatsoever. It's pure. You could base it like a dating sim in a way, but based on your affinity between like some of the characters, like you're like this head leader of the castle or your kingdom or your company, if you will, and you get go around and talk to all these people, give them items and everything to get up an affinity with you, so they like you more, and so they battle harder for you and everything. But you don't talk to like certain people; they'll have permadeath where they'll die in the field and hurt your army. And you as a gamer, you can't do anything about it. You can only just relent to say that I should have talked to that person that day at this hour or something like that. I should have gave them this item. Otherwise, they would have done better. And it would kind of still force you, like in the Fire Emblem games, to restart the game or restart to your save point, saying, well, let's just see if I can change this so I can keep them alive or something like that. And and you're just going the day-to-day basis of just making sure that everyone in your castle, whether if it's like a new recruit or someone that's visiting, you're making peace with them in some way, or you're making sure that they don't really die. um, Something along those lines of just doing. And I like the games that you take yourself out of the control of actually making that character like fight harder or do a better like combo or something like that. But realistically, it's how well you talk to them and see, how well your interactions were with them, and that decides the fate of the game and themselves.
Okay, so when you're saying like Danganronpa gameplay, you're referring to, I'm guessing, less the Danganronpa trials and murders and more like the
Yeah,
in-between
the in
hangout,
between
yeah,
hangouts and everything.
hang out,
Yep.
give items around, basically the dating sim part of it.
Yeah. Practically yes.
So, I mean, that sounds like basically the Fire Emblem support system, but much more involved and more strategic.
Exactly. It's basically you're still keeping the strategic part of it, but you're not actually in command of the individual units. You're not command of their weapons or anything. You have to keep on talking to them, and I'm sure there'll be some mini games back and forth of just helping them out and doing a few other regiments and everything. But it's you taking yourself out of there. It's kind of like purely a strategy game, but taking less of the role playing side of it.
So it's almost like a dating sim and a management sim for like basically just like
Yeah.
turning up all of the side customization aspects of a modern Fire Emblem game just up to 11.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
That's interesting. So, Nick, you have played mostly the recent Fire Emblem games. What do you think of Kyle's idea to modify it in that way as a spinoff?
The support system and the dialogue between the characters and everything is actually my favorite part of that series from what I have played. So I'm totally in favor of this idea. I think it sounds like it could be a ton of fun. I like the angle that they can die. The permadeath is active and everything. That would encourage a lot of interaction with the characters and making sure that you're talking to everyone, but at the same time, obviously you're going to play favorites. Um, I like that. I could see that working.
Cool. And Rob, same question to you. What do you think of Kyle's idea?
I like the idea quite a bit. It actually it makes me the way that Kyle described it, it made me think of like a cross between Sakura Wars and Dragon Force.
Oh, Dragon
And I
Force for
really
the
like
Saturn?
the yeah,
Oh, that's
I
a
really like the idea
that's a
of like
weird thing. I like Dragon Force.
a socially driven or like relationship mechanic based like grand strategy game. And I mean, it's so rare that we see like Japanese style grand strategy games anymore outside of like idea factories and scrutable messes. So like a Fire Emblem style like kingdom management with making sure your guys are all right by being a leader to them on a very human level. I think it's a really cool idea.
Right on. So, all right, thanks, Kyle and Nick and Rob for presenting those ideas. Now it's my turn, I suppose.
Lay it on
Um,
us, big guy.
yeah, I struggled with this a little bit. I just tried to think of series I like that could use reinvention, and also non RPG styles of game that I like that could lend themselves well to a new setting. And I came up with for the second half of that, I came up with open world action games, because if there's a single genre that I think defines the trends of the past, I don't know, say 5 or 6 years, it's open world action, where I mean, you'll have your everything from a Red Dead Redemption to a Far Cry to a Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. There's something very empowering about a character being dropped into a giant open world that is where there's tremendous freedom to do a very number of things, especially if if the main character is likable and the setting is intriguing. So, and the series I thought would be well suited to that is a series that I love dearly but has not had a great past couple of years, and that is the Seiken Densetsu series, or Mana series. So my pitch would be an open world action game where at the very beginning you're a young boy in a small village who maybe finds a sword or meets a fairy or is set up on the quest from in a very perhaps contrived way, but then you're given a giant world in the sort of visual style of the Mana series, and your goal is find the 8 spirits and ally with each of them, and then jump into the end game. But other than that, you have total freedom in a big, beautiful Mana world to explore.
Cool.
So, Rob, I know you're a longtime fan of this. You and I even were on a Encounter of Mana episode a little less than a year ago, um, on this very podcast. So, what do you think of an open world Mana game?
The Mana series has had a pretty rough track record over the past decade or more.
Oh, yikes! I would say past 18 years
Yeah,
post Legend.
yeah. It has been bad longer than it was ever good. And I think instead of like doing ill-designed spin-offs or whatever Seiken Densetsu 4 Dawn of Mana was meant to be. That obviously didn't work. So like yeah, I mean I why not give it a shot in the arm and try to elevate it to that to that level of a big open world with a lot to do. I think it would have legs, and I think people are clamoring for Mana. I mean, not loads of people, but it's still very beloved, and it's got a very big fan base, and I think go big or go home. Square, do something along those lines. I could dig it. I would lose myself in that. I love that world. I love rabbits. I love them all.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's a bunch of weapons and stuff in at least just in Secret of Mana 2 and 3. I mean, sorry, in Second Densetsu 2 and 3, and the world is big and
Swinging
colorful, and the
around on the
monsters
limit.
are cool. Every time I play one of those games, and I've played Second Densetsu 3 like 5 times, I just want to spend more time in that world.
Yeah, I mean, let me tell you, I'm not hearing good things about that Secret of Mana remake, but I still kind of want to play it. 'Cause I really like that world.
Yeah, it's received a bit of a lukewarm reception, maybe even a slightly negative one. But there's a lot of talk around it and a lot of enthusiasm around it. So I think
Mhm.
that fans are thirsty for more mana.
Mm.
So Kyle, if I'm not mistaken, you're playing that Secret of Mana remake on stream at least the past couple of weeks, correct?
Yeah, I actually have been. Between and I agree with you. I one of my first RPGs out there that I practically ever played was the Secret of Mana series. Now, with that being said, I absolutely love the game. I love your concept, and if you make it open world, like it would be definitely something I can just hop right into. And I could definitely see that happening, and I think we are thirsty for more mana in more ways than one. Because I love the summons, I love everything in general. I love everything that I would feel is just makes that game. It's just so colorful. Dang it, I don't get it. But to digress to what I've been playing for is the remake. It's oddly inspiring. Good. I mean, it has everything that you can ever want in the game. It's full voiceovers and everything. Everyone has got a freaking voice. And if I can see that in an open world game, like if I can see like some of the good stuff they take from the remake and apply it to what your spinoff is, I can see it happening if they can keep that maybe 2D style away, but not completely 3D. I definitely feel that something a little bit they make from the remake and just shove it into what your ideas for your game is. They can make something work out for sure.
Cool. And Nick, what are your thoughts on the last pitch of this podcast?
As someone who's never really played the Mana games, I absolutely would just dive right into this because I love the genre of open world action games. But yeah, it would get me interested in the Mana series, I think, and encourage me to go back and play those games.
Okay, now excuse me for picking on you a little bit, Nick, but you did review
I
one
did
of
a review Adventures of Mana,
right,
yes.
and forgive me, I don't have the review in front of me. You were mostly positive on that, correct?
I did. I really enjoyed that. I wasn't sure like how close that sticks to the regular Mana formula.
It's very
Um,
faithful to the original Game Boy game, but the games that came after it started doing different things.
yeah, that's kind of what I thought, and I liked exploring that. It was more like a top-down Zelda kind of game,
Mhm.
from what I remember playing of it when I did the review.
Cool. Well, oh man, we've been all over the map today. We went over close to 20 RPG spin offs that are among our favorites or that we could at least think of in 48 hours before recording. And then we each pitched a total of 4 hypothetical RPG spin offs just to, give listeners an idea of what our imaginations end up at when we think about our favorite RPG series and and what could happen if they went a different direction. But I think we've spoken enough today. We're almost at the 2 hour mark, and I wanted to keep it under that amount. So forgive me if we, start for the home stretch now. Now some housekeeping. Next week on Retro Encounter, we have the first episode of our Planescape Torment series. I say series, but really it's just 2 episodes. So that's the official Game Journal game for March. Keegan is hosting those 2 episodes, and I know he's a big fan of that game. So if you want to hear about a very, very involved, text-heavy, like cult hit Western RPG from 1999, those episodes will be 100% up your alley. And also, we have a companion episode to this episode coming in, I think, 2 weeks, if the schedule holds, where we talk about the reverse of RPG spin-offs, RPG adaptations of non-RPGs. In that episode, we might discuss the Mario RPGs, we might discuss the Mega Man Battle Network series, things of that nature, and I think it'll also end in the panelists pitching hypothetical RPG adaptations. We do have plans happening for April. It's going to be a themed month, but we don't have every plan set in stone yet, so I don't want to reveal it yet. But there will be a themed month of 4 podcasts for Retro Encounter appearing in April. And I think that possibly all of us might be involved in those episodes, if I'm because you know what I'm talking about when I mean the themed month in April. Am I right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. It's
Wink.
Yep. There's a site-wide plan happening in April, and we will have 4 Retro Encounter episodes following that plan if everything happens on schedule.
4 episodes all about Beyond the Beyond.
Oh, God. I would rather spend that entire 4 episodes talking about literally every other Camelot game. Because then we would at least be talking about what? Like Mario Golf and Golden Sun, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Shining
Beyond the
Force.
Beyond. God, so many good games from a studio, and Beyond the Beyond is the one that we keep talking about in Retro Encounter. I'm almost embarrassed.
Can't get enough of it.
Oh boy. Now I know that game's probably from before Nick was born. It's an early PS1 RPG that is not worth discussing one bit.
No, I actually remember playing a little bit of that.
How
I
dare
looked it
you?
up. Yeah, I was not too fond of it. So
I think that's the accurate opinion. But okay, let's move off this Beyond the Beyond train, please. That's a game that does not ever need a spin-off. But listeners, if you want to get in contact with us, the best way to do so is to email retro@rpgfan.com. You can also visit the rpgfan.com forums, the rpgfan.com Twitter, or the rpgfan Facebook page. Those are all great ways to find us. Please review us on iTunes or Google Play or however you're listening to us. Those reviews help us a lot, and we read everything directed to us, whether it's a Facebook message or an email or an iTunes review. We love all the feedback, preferably constructive, but even if it's rude feedback, we will at least read it. So, starting with you, Kyle, what is the best way listeners can find you?
Well, I'm always on Twitch Thursdays and Fridays. I don't have a particular email I can publicly give out right now.
You don't have a site email?
Not yet. It's in the works. But
Okay.
If anything, if you guys just stop by our Twitch channel every Thursday and Friday night from 6 to 9 Eastern Standard, 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. that is. I'll be there with some game at some point or another. I'm playing Secret of Mana Remake right now, so
On both nights or just Fridays?
on both nights.
Okay, cool.
On Thursday night, it'll be by myself. My wife is playing with me on Friday as a co-op, so we're getting through that game a little faster than we expected to, but you know what? We're still going to make it fun.
And perhaps unfairly of me, we don't plug the streaming much on Retro Encounter, and that's mostly because we don't have a lot of streamers appear on Retro Encounter. I mean, just a few weeks ago, we did have Caitlin talk about her Okami HD streaming, but basically, I think 6 nights a week, or no, maybe 7 nights a week, we do have streaming going on the RPG Fan Twitch page. It's usually some combination of Kyle, Caitlin, Christoph, or Scott playing various games. At the time of recording, we have Secret of Mana from Kyle, Okami from Caitlin, looks like Alundra from Christoph. Yep. There's a lot of stuff going on at all times on the Twitch channels, on the RPG Fan Twitch channel. But enough about streaming. Rob, what is the best way for listeners to contact you?
You can find me getting into trouble on Twitter at MissanthroBob. We can get into trouble together. It'll be a fun time. I recently got Instagram as well. I don't really know how to use it, but you can find me on Instagram as Sticky Lake.
Oh my. What'd you say? That was Sticky Lake?
Sticky Lake.
Okay,
If I
okay.
was a drag queen, that would be my name.
That's pretty good. Wait, would you also star in a John Waters adaptation of Hairspray?
It would probably be closer to Multiple Maniacs, but yeah,
Okay,
I'd,
okay.
I'd, I'd do something with John Waters.
All right. That was a very awkwardly presented Ricky Lake joke for listeners
Yes, it was.
that are not as attached to Baltimore or John Waters as I am. So Nick, if listeners want to get in contact with you, what is the best way for them to do so?
The best way is to email me at nickr@rpgfan.com, but you can also find me on Twitter at the Ezio Kinway.
Okay, and for me personally, let's see. If you want to reach me on the forums, I am Monsoon on the forums. On Twitter, I am at the real Monsoon most of the time, and at Evoker for Dogs when I am nerding about Japanese superheroes. And I guess we haven't mentioned this yet, the RPG Fan Discord, I am Monsoon Mike. And the RPG Fan Discord, if you want to get into that, I think it is open to the public, but if you need some special permission to get on it, you can just hit the forums, and Greg, our forum moderator, will set you up. That Discord is so popping that I don't visit it enough to catch everything that goes on. It's a very active Discord, probably more active than the forums are nowadays, which makes me feel a little old, honestly, because I don't engage with Discord as much as I do Twitter or our various other social media platforms. But that's, I think, about it for RPG spin-offs of RPG Fans Retro Encounter. Listeners, thank you, good night, and good luck.